Hello everyone, myself Sristi Verma, and today I'll be talking about Spanish conquest of the American land and Christopher Columbus's physical appearances. Christopher Columbus, renowned as the first admiral of the Indies, is depicted with varying opinions regarding his motives and origins. Some assert that the lands he discovered were known centuries prior but had been forgotten, prompting Columbus, a learned man versed in cosmography, to embark on his voyages to rediscover them. Others credit him as the initiator of the grand enterprise for the benefit of humanity. Columbus is believed to have hailed from the province of Liguria, especially Cugurio near Genoa, although there are conflicting accounts regarding his birthplace. Descriptions portray him as a man of decent parentage, possessing physical attributes such as height, strength, and lively eyes. His travels across the Mediterranean honed his navigation skills, and he eventually settled in Portugal, where he supported his father financially. There exists a tale of a Spanish caravel forced off course by fierce wind on its voyage from Spain to England, leading to the sighting of islands resembling the Indies. This narrative, often intertwined with Columbus' story, suggests that a dying pilot confided the discovery to Columbus before succumbing to illness. However, the veracity of the account remains disputed. Columbus's voyages are shrouded in uncertainty regarding the exact circumstances of his encounter with the New World. Some narratives suggest he was in Madeira or the Cape Verde Islands when he learned of the discovery, while others place him in Lisbon. Regardless, the tale of the pilot's revelation to Columbus persists, albeit with varying details and interpretations. Despite the ambiguity surrounding these events, Columbus' role as a pioneering figure in the age of exploration is undisputed. Whether driven by a desire to rediscover lost lands or spurred by the tales of mariners, his voyages marked a significant turning point in human history, forever altering the course of global exploration and shaping the modern world. After establishing some semblance of order among the indigenous population of Hispaniola, Columbus and his new crew endured challenging conditions as they sailed back to Castile. Upon their arrival in Santo Domingo in August 1504, they were greeted with both hospitality and subtle hostility from the governor. Despite being offered lodging, the governor simultaneously released Porras, a former rebel leader, and attempted to interfere in matters under Columbus' jurisdiction as appointed by the Catholic sovereigns. Despite these tensions, Columbus was able to refit his ship and set sail once again, leaving behind some of his companions in Hispaniola. Setting sail on September 12, Columbus' ship encountered difficulties when the mast of the other ship broke. Despite his setback, they continued their journey until they were hit by a violent storm on October 19, 1504, which caused their mast to break into 4 pieces. Despite Columbus's confinement to his bed due to gout, the crew managed to construct a jury mast, salvaging materials from various parts of the ship, enduring further storms and mishaps. They sailed on until they reached the harbor of San Lucar de Barrameda on November 17, 1505. From there, they made their way to Seville, where Columbus sought respite from the hardships of the voyages. In May 1505, Columbus departed Seville for the court of King Ferdinand, who had lost Queen Isabel the previous year. Columbus mourned the loss of Queen Isabella, who had been a staunch supporter of his endeavors, while his relationship with King Ferdinand remained strained. Despite Ferdinand's initial pretense of favor, it became clear that he intended to strip Columbus of his authority over the Indies. However, before any action could be taken, the arrival of Philip I to assume the crown of Spain diverted attention away from Columbus' fate. As Ferdinand prepared to welcome Philip I, Columbus, suffering from gout and other ailments, succumbed to death on Accession Day, May 20, 1509, in Valladolid. His final moments were marked by devout acceptance of his fate and a commendation of his soul to God. Despite the challenges and disappointments he faced in his later years, Columbus's legacy as a pioneering explorer remained intact, with his voyages laying the foundation for the European colonization of the Americas.
Myself, Joshua from the Department of History, and I'm here to talk about the first voyage of Columbus from the second chapter of the reference book. Christopher Columbus, born in the Republic of Genoa in 1451, embarked on his first voyage in 1492 with the objective of finding a western route to Asia. His motivations were primarily economic, driven by the desire to access the lucrative spice trade without having to traverse the dangerous overland routes. Despite popular belief, Columbus was not trying to prove the earth was round. That fact was well known among educated Europeans of his time. Instead, he miscalculated the earth's circumference, underestimating the distance to Asia and believing he could reach it by sailing west. Securing funding from King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain, Columbus set sail with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta and the Santa Maria. After a long and treacherous journey, he made landfall in the Bahamas, believing he had reached Asia. This marked the beginning of European exploration and colonization of the Americas. Columbus' voyage initiated a significant exchange of goods, ideas and cultures between the eastern and western hemisphere. However, it also had devastating consequences for the indigenous people of the Americas. Columbus's legacy has been re-evaluated in recent years with increased attention given to the negative impacts of European colonization. His actions, including the enslavement and exploitation of indigenous peoples, have sparked debates about his character and historical significance. Critics argue that Columbus was a product of his time, shaped by the prevailing attitudes of European expansionism and imperialism. They point to his role in initiating the transatlantic slave trade and the brutal treatment of indigenous people as evidence of his moral ambiguity. In contrast, supporters of Columbus emphasize his navigational skills and the lasting impact of his voyages on world history. They argue that while his actions may be judged by modern standards, his accomplishments were groundbreaking and paved the way for further exploration and discovery. Regardless of one's perspective, the first voyage of Columbus remains a pivotal moment in history, marking the beginning of a new era of global exchange and exploration. It is a complex and multifaceted story, one that continues to be studied, debated, and reinterpreted in the modern age.
Hello everyone, my name is Pragati Negi, and today I'll be talking about Christopher Columbus's voyage. Christopher Columbus's voyage of 1492 marked a significant turning point in world history, leading to the discovery of the Americas and initiating an era of European exploration and colonization. Departing from Spain with the support of Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, Columbus set sail on August 3, 1492 with a fleet of 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta and the Nina. His primary goal was to find a westward route to Asia, but instead he stumbled upon the islands of the Caribbean, which he believed to be part of the Indies. After a journey of 33 days, Columbus reached the Bahamas, where he landed on an island he named San Salvador. Continuing his exploration, he encountered several other islands, naming them and claiming them for Spain. Among these were Santa Maria de Conception, Fredonina, Isabella, and Jona. Columbus's encounters with the indigenous people of the island, whom he referred to as Indians, were significant. He noted their lack of clothing, their simple way of life, and their peaceful demeanor. Despite initial misunderstandings and fears, Columbus managed to establish communication and trade with the natives, though he also captured some for the purpose of learning more about the land. As he explored further, Columbus encountered the island of Hispaniola, which he found to be rich in resources including gold and spices. He established a settlement there called Villa de Nevada and built a fort, laying a groundwork for Spanish colonization in the region. Throughout his voyage, Columbus encountered various indigenous cultures, noting their customs, languages, and way of life. He observed differences in their appearance and social structures, but also remarked on their intelligence and ingenuity. Despite his initial hopes of finding a direct route to Asia, Columbus's voyage ultimately proved to be the beginning of European colonization in the Americas. His reports of newfound lands and resources sparked widespread interest in exploration and trade among European powers, leading to further expeditions and the eventual colonization of the Americas. Columbus's voyage was not without its challenges, including adverse weather conditions, navigation difficulties, and tensions among his crew. However, his determination and perseverance ultimately led to his historic discovery, forever changing the course of world history. Thank you. Diego Mendes's account provides a vivid and detailed narrative of Christopher Columbus's fourth voyage to the New World, particularly focusing on the events that unfolded during his time on the island of Jamaica. The voyage, which took place in 1502 to 1504, was marked by numerous hardships, dangers, and ultimately remarkable feats of survival and resilience. The narrative begins with Mendes recounting his service to Columbus as a faithful companion, detailing how he accompanied the admiral on his exploration of islands and the mainland. Mendes emphasizes his role in saving Columbus's life and lives of their companions, particularly during a perilous situation in the harbor at the mouth of the Belen or Yabra River, where hostile indigenous people threatened to attack their ships. Mendes describes how he bravely ventured alone to gather intelligence on the intentions of the indigenous people, risking his life to uncover their plans to attack the ships. His action allowed Columbus to strategize and take precautions to defend against the impending threat. The narrative further unfolds as Mendes recounts the challenges faced by Columbus's crew, including attacks by indigenous people, shortage of supplies, and the deteriorating condition of their ships. Despite these adversities, Mendes demonstrates remarkable resourcefulness and leadership, negotiating with indigenous chiefs for provision and organizing the defense of their makeshift settlement. Mendes's account also highlights the resilience and determination of Columbus and his crew, who endured hunger, disease, and the constant threat of attack. The narrative underscores the precariousness of their situation and the desperate measures taken to survive, including Mendes's perilous voyage in a small canoe to seek aid from Hispaniola. The account culminates in Mendes's successful return to Hispaniola and his efforts to secure provisions and assistance for Columbus and his crew. Mendes's bravery and resourcefulness ultimately play a crucial role in ensuring the survival of the expedition and facilitating their eventual return to Spain. Overall, Mendes's account provides a compelling insight into the challenge and triumphs of Columbus's fourth voyage, highlighting the courage, perseverance, and the ingenuity of those involved in one of the most daring exploration of the age of discovery. Thank you.
My name is Harshvardhan Singh, and I'll be sharing my thoughts on our dear old friend Christopher Columbus. I'll admit that during my formative years, I carried a certain fascination with the man. After all, not everyone can claim to have single-handedly changed the entire conception we had earlier about the size and scale of our world. However, for now, I'll be speaking about how religion influenced his ideas of what he was actually doing in the Americas. That and other factors too, such as a good old lust for treasure. When talking about religion, we must keep in mind that the entire voyages were originally kick-started because Spain and Portugal and other European powers wanted to end the Muslim monopoly on the eastern trade. This had several other connotations as well, such as the spirit of the Crusades or the Reconquista of Spain. Columbus, for his own part, was a man of faith which sometimes could go too far, and Italians had no shortage of it. While in his early adventures to the Americas, he might have referred to the natives as children of God. This appreciation would later prove to be short-lived, especially when commodities such as gold came into the picture. So, while on his maiden voyage he might have performed certain acts of altruism, by the time of his final foray, he appears to have been overtaken by an exceptional religious zeal. We see him obsessed over protecting the faith and the new converts, his apprehension of pagan or heathen savages, so to speak, and excessive indulgence in prayer, particularly when he faced difficulties or even minor inconveniences such as a ship being stranded or the winds not favoring him. In his letters to the King and Queen of Spain, he expresses all his opinions, and we get the idea that he is completely devoted to them, as if they allowed him to be a protector of the faith. He quotes from scripture, and in other instances he performs random acts of extreme prayer, which even his crew finds too much to handle. Therefore, we see this man turn from a sailor to a full missionary, and herein lies his tragedy.